Flight boss, bitch, you know, for sure. You're now listening to the Mind Eminent Terry's Moon. I'm the Archangel Uriel, and Dolo here to carry out God duties and motherfucking responsibilities. And right now I want to talk about what is Nibiru. What is Nibiru? Now, I know there's a lot of indoctrinations out there. There's a lot of sciences on Nibiru and things of that nature. So, y'all know it's Archangel Uriel. I like to come with the actuality of things, not the shapes and forms. So when we talk about Nibiru, right? This is what you need to understand about Nibiru. Anything you heard about someone teaching Nibiru as it being an actual object or as it being a planet or a star, that's another form of lostness. That's another form of being indoctrinated right there. So what you need to understand about Nibiru is not an object, planet, or star. Actually, Nibiru itself is nothing. Nibiru doesn't exist if you're looking at it in the form of a shape or a planet or a star. What Nibiru actually is a term to describe an event. That's what Nibiru actually is. Nibiru is just a term to describe an event. So this event could be a situation of transformation, transportation, or a transitioning period, or something transitioning or transforming into something else. So once you hear Nibiru and understand that all it means is a term to describe an event, and this event is backed and supported by something either transforming, transitioning, or transporting, then you know that once we start to get into labels and objects, and if it's a planet or a star, you know that Nibiru could have played the character of any planet, of any star. Any planet, any star, any object that played the character at a specific time of showing examples of transitioning, transforming something, or transporting something will be described as a Nibiru. You get what I'm saying? So that's what a Nibiru. Now, to kind of understand where dumb humans may have came up with religions around it and catastrophic events around it and things of that nature, and start to believe it's an actual event, this goes down into prophecy, where a prophecy has to be fulfilled. You see what I'm saying? So a prophecy is like a spirit or something that's claimed, or a sigil that could be put out there, right? And that sigil that's put out there, it remain as a void or a womb, and whatever other spirit or physical vessel choose to take that shape and form, they get to play that void. They get to take that space. They play that space, play that role, and then they get to carry out the duties and obligations in reality, in this density, in this dimension of whatever was set out in the first place. So that's like prophecy, right? So when we talk about, there's always a sense of something ruling Earth realm. I'm gonna get into the metaphysics of Mortal Kombat too, because Mortal Kombat goes just as deep as Dragon Ball Z, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, and all the rest of the shit. But for the most part, when we talk about, we got to talk about cataclysms real quick, so we can understand what actually a cataclysm is. A cataclysm isn't necessarily an object from outer space coming to Earth crashing. So that's what we need to understand. That's kind of lostness. That come from a bunch of indoctrinations of people not truly understanding how to even look at planets and stars in general, not to even know what they are. Now, when we talk about setting up prophecy and when we talk about Nibiru or a cataclysm, this is what a cataclysm is in any realm of reality. A cataclysm is nothing more than when a group of lights are angling or interacting in a certain way or a certain angle, and with these interactions it creates a certain friction. So let's say we're in a realm of light surrounded by a bunch of other lights. Based upon their rotations and how they're angling each other, it creates the conditions of the realm of reality we in. This is where you get weather and things of that nature from. But as far as a catastrophic event back in the ancient times, this was more of a spiritual thing, because they understood each space that these stars was traveling through and the vibration that it gives off, and then what they was channeling and giving back off to them. So when we talk about things of catastrophic events, there were certain planetary, let's just cut to the chase. To them, They might not call it planetary alignments, but I'm going to call it planetary alignments because that's what it was. They may have different names for them. It was certain planetary alignments that gave off certain influences off the earth that may have made the people on the earth, or the people in the earth realm, or the people living here, go astray in certain ways. Or for an example, you know, last week or last month ain't the same as this month. So last month's planetary alignments ain't the same as this month's planetary alignments. We got certain planetary alignments that you don't see until like 20 years or 30 years or 1,000 years. You see what I'm saying? So when they calculating these things, right, they're doing this from the smallest minute level. Remind you, this is when we're building the brain and we're building all our space for ourselves. So we're doing what we're doing now on the most minute level back then. So when we look at a cataclysm or something like that, this was an event that we see certain planetary alignments, the moon here, the sun here, this star there, and then there's certain events that may have happened that may have shocked people. You know what I'm saying? Like, damn, why this happened? Or why that happened, and things of that nature. And back then, our clocks and our way of looking at life was the stars. Period. It wasn't no entertainment and all that shit came from that shit. We learned from that shit. But our first forms of entertainment and shit was our 360 we are in. And it's the shit above us. So when things happen out of order, like a chaotic moment that kind of happened out of order, it may be something mundane. It may be you have been keeping up the farm, or keeping up how we was keeping structured at that time in the ancient. You might have been a person that kept a specific portion of the spectrum up, or the farm up, or the yard up, and that day you chose not to. We will correlate that to the energies that we're in that day, which is where the stars at, the space that they in, what time of the day. That's how we correlated the time of the day and shit. So this is what we looked at as catastrophic events. So as we started pushing that out, that started going to a more larger, because it was minute. Now it started going to manifest into more larger and larger situations and circumstances, to the point that shit started to happen that start to kill off a lot of us, or a whole bunch of us. But a lot of times it was shit that we was actually doing ourselves, but we was manifesting it based upon the energies we was putting ourselves in. So like I said, when we talk about gravity or rotation and space and things of that nature, this is our ability to resonate with ourselves. Same way you got your own space, I got my own space. And how we are relative to each other, how we resonate and relate to each other, that creates gravity, that creates rotation, that creates position. And once everybody know their reason why we don't truly understand gravity, because everyone don't truly understand their position in this world. But everyone is playing a position, whether they're playing a position that they truly supposed to be playing or not. You're playing a position. So you're keeping a rotation, you're keeping a system, a structure going, whether you like it or not. The moment we all become truly chaotic, we all become truly in ourselves and but become truly chaotic, the moment we start experiencing and manifesting real physical cataclysms and things of that nature. But it never started to that. That's why it's hard for scientists to kind of prove that objects from outer space actually came into our realm of reality as like meteorites and shit like that, and this is what actually happened. So this is what makes them hard to prove, dinosaurs and how the dying off and shit. Well, really, is this another one level of life dying and going into the other level of life, and the level of life previously rising up into that level of life, taking that level of life place, and that level of life going to another. And it's all like we all in the same place, just changing spots, changing shapes and forms. But we all spirits in the same place, just utilizing different shapes and forms. And other people may have, other beings may have used these persons before your spirit. Your spirit probably ain't even been through enough experiences to even know how to take that kind of realm of reality to receive and retract them kind of lights, to take those kind of shapes and forms in that realm of reality. You see what I'm saying? Y'all, the way y'all looking at planets may be off a little bit, but you know, this was actually a cataclysm or a catastrophic event. So we start to manifest the physical reality of it, and start to manifest the actual physical brain tissue and the matter and the logicality parts of our physical self, to start logically putting these shapes together from our right brain, which is the 360. We start to put the squares in the shape and point of reference, to the point that we start to create actual manifestations of things we could point to that can actually be a Nibiru. But Nibiru isn't actually an object, planet, or a star itself. You see what I'm saying? Nibiru is just a term to describe an event that causes transition, transformation, or disposition in some way, shape, or form. So you see Nibirus every day. The moment the sunlight hits your eyes, and you see that little reflection, you see them little orbs, think of those little orbs as worlds in itself, things of that nature. But for the most part, that's a cataclysm. From the most minute state. It's just the reflection, and interactions of lights. And the stronger the light, the bigger the catastrophic event. The more paying attention that realm of reality is going to be able to gain or attract to be able to manifest and become into the prism or this prison or this solid or this crystal world that we in. It's this light body. You see what I'm saying? So, be careful that you ain't trying to participate or actually creating an actual physical form of something that could be called a Nibiru. See? Flight boss, bitch. Goddamn air.